Hey fellas, how are we?
Very good, very good. How are we, Porsche friends?
Yeah, all good. Back on it.
What have we been up to then?
Well, driving. I think we did three out of 7 days last week. I thought it was quite impressive.
Yeah, the midweek one was good, wasn't it? It felt a little bit naughty just heading out kind of before the working day, but such is life these days without commutes to go to that it's a welcome new normal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I heaved dug the Cayman out, Joe.
Indeed, yeah. Dusted it off. It needed a little. It needed one of the back corners. Just needed a little paint touch up, which we've been meaning to do for ages. So that's just been done. So it's all spangly, and it's all good to go. So need to get booked on a track day. I think we've got something booked in for the end of the month already. But need to do something between then, really.
What track days are coming up? What have you got booked?
I think end of the month is Thruxton.
Nice.
Which is a bit of a difficult one to get onto because it really tight noise levels there. But we've fettled,
quiet, isn't it?
Yeah, we kind of fettled our exhaust and we got some downturn pipes on it and stuff. So we can get on there.
Those.
Yeah, it's they are functional rather than pretty.
Yeah, looks like a diesel from the sort of 1990s.
All right, it's a bit harsh. I was going for like motorsport inspired, but all right, diesel from the 1990s. That's fine. But it's all good. I forget how good that car is. I obviously drove it back yesterday and was like, this is awesome. So need to spend a bit of time in it.
Lovely. You're going to take that other weekend on the road. Is it road legal?
Yeah, it's obviously all on the road.
I guess.
Yeah, we drive it to and from. So it's all good to go. And it's definitely needs a little run out. So I don't know if this Sunday's off the cards because it's Father's Day or something. So I think that might be frowned upon. But we'll have a go.
Andy, I assume you've just been sitting in your garage all week, just lifting inanimate objects with your shiny new toy.
Yeah, I've worn out the button already, just going up and down, up and down. It's bloody brilliant, to be honest. Absolutely fantastic thing. I had to do some work on the one of my exhaust valves had gone a little bit sticky, so I put it up on the lift, had both exhaust boxes off, stuck everything, cleaned everything up, put it all back together within the hour, I think it was. And it was just like, once I'd finished it, it was like, God, that job would have taken half a day before. It's just so much quicker. Get one if you can. Really, really, really brilliant.
Good man. Nice to see you enjoying it.
I think I saw your car when I passed your drive the other day, looking a lot lower than it has done before.
Yes, so the KW Variant 3s are on, and honestly, I'm so blown away. What an amazing upgrade on the car. It is a bit of an outlay to do, isn't it, financially, in comparison to the value of the car. But honestly, if it's one modification you should do to your car, especially of that sort of age, it's got to be some modern coilovers. Phenomenal.
Is it a proper,
it's so good.
Proper transformation.
It's a new car, Andy. It's a totally different car, utterly transformed.
Wonderful.
And Joe and I went out for a quick burn on Sunday, and we spoke about it then. It really is just a new car.
It's the first time I've heard you kind of quite sort of elated with your car. There's always been a bit of a it's nice, but there's always been a but what if, or it's something that's not quite working for you. It's the first time you were like, that car's brilliant, love it.
It's, to be honest, if my old C4S, I know it's 4-wheel drive and heavier, etc., but I really loved that car. And even now, if it was a choice between keeping hold of Little Irish or getting that C4S back, it'd be a really tough call for me. But I think with the suspension and chassis work that's happened over the past few months, as I say, it really is a different car now. It feels so sharp at the nose, so pointy. When you go into corners, it's not kind of rolling over like a slinky, and it just feels so good. And the drive we did Sunday, I loved it, absolutely loved it. And
is it harsh at all, or is it soak up the bumps?
It is at the moment. It's on the factory settings with the KWs. I've not fettled with it yet. I will, because I know Mrs. Sibbs will not be enjoying that ride. It is on the firm side, possibly. Yeah. Fairly similar to the MO30 sports suspension of the time. But I think if you've got a car for fast driving, it's perfect, But so I got the car back last week, and I now need to do about 500 miles on the car just for the suspension to settle, and it will.
Yeah, because you've got quite a lot of new bushes and stuff in there, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. So the car has had its tracking done, like the wheels are pointing forwards, but in terms of a nice, properly dialed in geo, you need to kind of wait around 500 miles. So I mean, it's been great for me. I've been burning around doing, soaking up the miles as much as possible. So I think it's Thursday I'm back to get the car properly dialed in. The suspension should be fairly settled by that point, and I'll try and get as close to GT3 spec as possible, I think, really.
Sweet. Wheels look so much better with it lowered.
It just does, doesn't it? Like we said on a previous pod, it's bizarre with aftermarket wheels. You fit aftermarket wheels to a standard ride height and it looks like a safari car. Yeah. So now it's pulled out of the sky. It does look better for sure.
Excellent.
So we'll bring on the guest, shall we? We've got an absolutely cracking guest tonight, as always, to be fair.
Indeed.
We're looking forward to this. It should be fun.
Yes, hopefully we'll learn some industry secrets and find out a little bit about a man behind the lens. It's Ali Cusick, an award-winning photographer.
Let's bring him on.
Mr. Ali Cusick, a double award-winning automotive photographer, been in the industry for 20 years. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on Road to Redline today. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, how are you diddling?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Good to meet you.
And we've also got Joe as well. So Joe, meet Andy.
Hi, Ali. It's we've met a few times before on various little photo things, I think.
We have, yeah.
Could you give us a bit of a rundown of how long you've been working in the industry?
What time is it now? Is my usual retort to that. It's 10. Oh, it's about 15 minutes now. 15 minutes. I started taking pictures sort of professionally, if you like. Probably when I was still at uni, actually. But if you take it when I sort of graduated. 99. I worked in a studio straight out at university. I did a degree in photography in what is now Birmingham City University. I should just preface that straight from school. I started with a national diploma in photography, like a specialised A level, then went on to a degree. So I did 2 years national diploma, 3 years degree. The second week of the first course, we had a visiting lecturer coming in twice a week. The second week of the course, I said, can I come out with you on a job? And he said, yeah, if you like. So I did that the next week. The week after that, he said, are you free to come out with me again? So I started sort of assisting him. And he was probably Birmingham's best sort of advertising guy. So throughout that course and the degree, I was doing the course and all the rest of it, but I sort of learnt the photography from probably 10 days with this chap. Or after 10 days, I sort of feel like I am now in a way. But anyway, I certainly understood lighting. No cars with that. That was just studio with on proper film with 5.4 plate cameras. Anyway, I did that, finished the degree, got a job in a studio in Birmingham because I thought that's what I should do. Slightly disappointed to find the guy I was working with wasn't that awesome. I'd be setting stuff up and lighting it. I was quite good with my lighting. And I'd lit loads of stuff in the studio with Jack, static things, food, glassware, all sorts of different things. But I hadn't really done a lot of people. At the end of my degree, the final project was a book of portraits of people in Land Rovers. I'd always liked Land Rovers. I'd photographed lots of static things with Jack, the photographer. But I wanted to force myself to do people. So I did that book. Towards the end of the book, I did some people that made their living as well as weirdy beardy owners, if you like. Some people have made their living from Land Rover. So the world's leading Land Rover historian, first person to start a Land Rover magazine, the first person to open an off-road course, one of the guys that designed the Range Rover. Anyway, so I'd made some contacts in the sort of publishing end, if you like. Started in the studio. 3 or 4 weeks into that, the historian called me up and said, can you do a job with me next week for the guy who owns a magazine? We'd like to use you for a job. I said, I'm ever so sorry. I've got a proper job now. I don't think they'll let me do that, but I'll ask anyway. And anyway, I did. And they said, no, I'm sorry. You're working here now. You can't do anything else. Okay. I said, okay. Anyway, 3 or 4 weeks later or a month later, we'd finished whatever catalogue we were doing, and I was sick of sitting in my knees in the dark all day. It was just after the turn of the millennium, this was. So September to December, to the turn of 2000. January 2000, there was absolutely no work at all. I just went to the studio, sat in the dark room and waited till 5 o'clock to leave again. And I thought, this is no fun. So the next time the historian called up, said, yeah, I can do that job. Yeah, no worries. So I'm a twin, you see. So I got my twin brother to call the studio up and say, oh, it's Alistair. I don't feel very well at all today. I'll be in tomorrow. Is that okay? Oh yeah, that's fine. Okay, see you then. I went off and did my job with James Taylor, the Land Rover historian, and came back the next day. Sent the films to the Land Rover magazine. Went back in the studio. Oh, are you all right, Alistair? How are you feeling? Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Yeah. Oh, you didn't sound at all yourself yesterday on the phone. And anyway, I did that for the last 14 weeks I worked there. I gave my notice in the end because I just got sick of it, and I thought, no, I'll do this on my own rather than get stuck with someone else that wasn't that awesome. So yeah, here I am. I did some stuff with the Land Rover magazine. I wrote a letter to Mini magazine. Started doing stuff for them. They had a few different titles. A truck magazine. Started doing stuff for them. My work at that point was a little bit different to everyone else. For my Land Rover book, I took the studio lights and ran them off the car battery. So I was lighting people and cars on location with my studio sort of lighting, if you like. And that's always sort of been my thing, if you like. At that point,
and so I saw that it seems like quite a studio-like look to a lot of the photos.
It's all about lighting photography, really, but I guess we'll probably touch on that later. So I lit people, then I lit cars. But shooting on film, you'd hand the slides in, and I was always relatively good with my exposures. They'd get 4 or 5, rolls of each type of the camera film, the medium format and 35mm. And there'd be a really nice sky, and the car was lit really well, and they couldn't quite work it out at first. So how did you get that sky? And what did you take that background with you? And I'd say, no, I've lit the car. And everyone does it now. It's quite sort of widely available, and the kit's much, much better than it was then. But yeah, that got me noticed, if you like. So I've spent £30 on advertising to sort of today. I wrote a letter to Mini magazine. I wrote a letter to Philip Raby, which I guess we'll touch on in a second, and I wrote another one to a PR firm. That's the extent of my advertising budget for 20 years, if you like. But because I was lighting stuff with flash, it was a little bit different. It got you noticed, and that's all you need. In the last 20 years, someone else has done it. Probably now people do it with processing in Photoshop. That's the way your shots are different, and you get people's attention. Classic example of that now is a chap called Richard Pardon. You'll know the name, and you'll certainly know his pictures. He's really, really good sort of color grading. I mean, so just like I was with flash way back when, that's his bag now. Jamie Littman as well, probably 10 years ago. He was processing his own pictures when we were still being forced to hand over RAWs. So he got in that way. That was his sort of angle, I suppose. But everyone finds their own little niche. We're all different.
It's interesting, isn't it? How everybody's got their own different style, and you actually get to learn those styles as you look at pictures, and I'm sure that's been done by that person, because there is such a thing. Yeah,
it's a bit like music, really. You can you can say I play the guitar or whatever, but everyone has got a different touch on the instrument or whatever, and they all sort of make their own sound. And it's the same with photography. There's no right, but there's definitely wrongs. You just find your own way, and it's what you do with it, really.
It's almost, isn't it, the mark of a world-class photographer, because everybody, and we will kind of touch on this a little bit later on, everybody's got a camera these days. The equipment for an entry-level camera is relatively cheap. So it's easy to mock something up, take a picture of a car, make your own little watermark or tag, put it in the corner, Joe Blogs photography, that's mine. But actually the sign of a world-class photographer is not putting a tag on it, and people go in exactly like Andy said, I know exactly who's taken that.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's Yeah, I play the drummers myself, and there's a really good drummer called Vinny Colaiuta who's played on all of the sort of loads of hits, everyone from Frank Zappa to Sting to anyone. But he's got this thing that says, practice till you don't need to tell people your name. Or practice till you don't need to introduce yourself. And that's it. Everyone's got their own fingerprint. And yeah, you can pick things up. I wouldn't say I'm world class. I'm always trying. And I'm always trying to get better, really.
Well, this is the thing, Ali. You mentioned you're a drummer, but I would say you're not amazingly good at banging the drum about your own talents. So I would like to do that for you right now. Obviously, that's how we know each other, is through your T911 work. You preceded myself on that magazine, didn't you? Helped essentially to kind of get that up and running photographically. You're a double award winner as well, aren't you, for Guild of Motoring Writers Photographer of the Year? Your portfolio of clients, I think, is very varied, which is kind of testament to your skill with T911 and publishing titles, but then also manufacturers such as Jaguar Land Rover and Michelin tyres as well. It's a fair repertoire you've got there, sir. I'm the world's worst person about shouting about myself. It probably has harmed me. I haven't sort of progressed to where I could have been, but I'm not that sort of shouty guy. There's loads of guys that will shout about themselves, but that's not me. I'd rather just let my picture speak for me. But it sort of goes back to that first studio. The guy was very sort of loud, and he's your best friend on the shoot, and if someone's there, and that's all well and good, and yes, people have a nice time. When you hand in that roll of transparencies, back in the day, no one remembers that. They just want to see the pictures, and then they're sober or whatever. And it's nice that you just sort of hand the work in and say, there you go. And I suppose that's my bag, but Ali could probably say that more than I could. Most of my work, I get because I am a safe pair of hands. People can send me out perhaps without giving me a brief. They'll know, they'll get it. I do write as well. So if someone wants a whole package, I did a job a week and a half ago exactly like that. There's the car. This is the basic story. We'll send you a brief. Go and shoot it. I know the day came and went without the brief, but I still did it. And cover feature words and pictures. And I saw them yesterday. I said, I'm really happy with it. But that's my thing, I suppose. They know that you can go out and do it, and you're going to get the results. And Lee will tell you as well, there's quite a lot goes into a shoot. It's not a relaxing day. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that goes into getting that feature or the the assets for someone to put out. And they won't give it to anyone. There's more people take pictures than ever, but the sort of the chance of it going wrong with that new person you've never met before is high. Yeah,
Ali, I was going to ask, where how far afield is your career taking you? Because I'd imagine people probably send you off a bit further than just up and down the UK. But how far afield have you ended up going with it?
I haven't gone bonkers sort of around the world. Europe's the furthest I've been, but I'm a bit odd. I like coming home, really. There's loads of guys who will literally travel the world. Jaguar Land Rover's got Nick Dimbleby working for them and Dave Shepherd. Their passport is probably sort of as thick as a Bible with stamps, but
right.
That's fine. But if you wanted to know what photography is about, it's certainly not being in a glamorous location with a really expensive car, driving it flat out all day. It's hard work. It's a lot of driving to get where you are. You're all down your knees. It can be dirty. All the pressure's on you. Everyone else is out to have a really good day, but you are, but in a slightly different remit. It's hard work, and I do like to come home every night. Your family's important. It can be hard for people to stay married. It's not an easy thing to sort of do lifestyle wise if you want to be that round the world travel guy.
Yeah.
So I've always pretty much stayed in the UK, done bits of Europe. But UK is my thing, really. Yeah.
What's your standout highlights in terms, whether it's locations or jobs or cars? I mean, what's the ones that do do stick for you?
Well, everyone says, what's the best picture you've ever taken? And it's never a really good car. It's always the first picture of my children. But work-wise, I don't know. It's a tricky one. We do get around loads of stuff that is really exciting. I've probably been in every single 911, I would have thought. Definitely been in the earliest one in Europe. Lee and I were with a load of GTs only last week. fast and sort of potent and rare stuff is sort of our bread and butter, really. You tend to get more excited about the stuff you've had to work hard or pull something out of that. Lee and I did a really good one up on the Hartside Pass in Cumbria with some 9/11 anniversaries. And that shit was nice. It was really, really cold. It was probably about -2 and there was a 50-mile-an-hour wind. It was really, really cold. We had 3 cars there. Yeah, everyone else was doing it in shifts to sort of wipe the cars and jump back in their friend's Cayenne with heated seats to warm back up. But I was out there for about 4 hours. But those shots were really good. But it's that sort of thing where you've had to just get on with it, and you're sort of more proud of that than when you've, say, been on a test track on a launch or something like that. It depends what you define as good, really. But that's the sort of thing that sticks in my mind. You think, oh yeah, I did a good job then, and doing a good. Go on.
Just going to say, Ali, it's funny, isn't it? Because you might have a similar experience to what I do. Is when you're looking back over shoots and you see a certain photograph, there's often a memory associated with that photograph, and I think that's kind of what makes what we do quite special, because obviously the cars are amazing, but there are some brilliant stories. The incident you mentioned there on the Hartside Pass, I mean, that was so cold. I cannot emphasize just how cold that day was. And I remember I was sitting in the 991 anniversary. I think you were getting a rear three-quarter shot. Then we'd done it, so we'd span the car around quickly. It was so cold, I just elected to stay in the car and duck, basically, didn't I?
Yeah, no, it was freezing.
It was so cold, and I was inside. I couldn't feel my fingers through my phalanges. And I just remember thinking, bloody hell, that poor bastard is out there taking the picture still. But like, credit to you, like, you know, pulled it out of the bag. And this is the thing, you know, like you photographers, you put yourself in all sorts of uncompromising situations just to get the shot, you know.
Yeah, well, it's just all that matters is the result, really. So you know, you don't go out, or I don't go out to do a bad job. You just go out to try your best. So and we've done loads of things, but
fingerless gloves must come in useful.
I've got some really good windproof gloves, actually. In fact, I'm on my second pair because I wore the first finger of my right hand on the last pair, where it presses the shutter, and that is a true story. But I've been out on jobs in South Wales where you know, the journalist has forgotten his coat and their lips have gone blue or something like that. You know, I've mentioned this to Lee in the past, but the story of any car, really, but it's all about people. As soon as you put people with things, that's when sort of things happen, good, bad, funny. That's when it all goes on, you see. So that's where stuff and like the memories come from, I guess. But the cars, it doesn't matter what it is. You know, I've done some really nice stuff with tires, because sometimes you'll feel really good about doing a really good picture of a truck or something like that, and you've really had to sort of craft it, or it's really worked well. That's often more satisfying than the latest, you know, massive winged, super hyper mega 911 or whatever it is of the moment. You know, it's it could be something quite delicate, a really nice detail or an engine shot. Or we went from Brooklyn circuit in the UK to Reims in France, 2 sort of disused circuits. And I did a really nice shot of Reims circuit. I lit the car. It was pitch black. I lit the car with a wind-up camping lantern, and also the whole pit area. That was 2010.
I think I've seen that picture. Yeah. It's on your... Yeah.
I've seen it copied by loads of people as well. It is a sort of popular one to do, but that's a really nice picture. I feel really happy with that. But I don't know.
What's sort of changed in the last 10 years as far as photography for you? Photographing cars, is it been a kit, or is it warmer gloves?
I don't know really. I've sort of cultivated my own sort of little list of customers I really like working for. That sort of relationship is important. It's not always about the next newest, fastest customer, if you like.
Yeah.
I like being part of that sort of team, and I've historically worked for smaller magazines, but it's often a bit more satisfying like that. It's sort of better to punch above your weight in one way than have, 15 cars and 30 people on a group test for 3 weeks or something. It's more satisfying that way. I mean, most people are sort of really happy to go out in it's a 73 RS, but I have shot that many that I've sort of forgotten about it, and you tend to only remember the times. Like we shot one probably a long time ago now. Borrowed it from a dealer, took it out around North Wales. Just on the way back, about 5 miles away, it ran out of fuel. But because it was a rally car, it didn't have any door locks, and the journalist wanted to come and pay for the petrol, so we actually left it by the side of a dual carriageway while we went sort of 2 miles to the petrol station. And I remember coming back thinking, I hope this blooming car's still there. And sure it was. I think it was so sort of crazy to see this 73 RS with spotlights on the bonnet that everyone thought, oh, is that that must be so hot we daren't even nick it. All the time I shot one for Auto Farm, and they said, oh, a bit short of guys, do you want to go and take it out yourself? I said, oh, if you want me to, it's fine. Out the drive, round the corner, and looked at the local photo spot. Well, that was the plan, but about 600 yards out of the garage, it sort of spluttered to a halt. You think, oh my God, have I just launched this or something? But no, I think it wasn't a flat battery, it was a relay or something. Or it might have been a flat battery, but it's silly things like that you jump back in your mind,
I remember a 964, it was a turbo look cab, wasn't it? Lovely sunny October day. And we're driving along with a roof down and whatnot, just about to crack on with this photo shoot. It was early on at the start of the day. Any case, the alternator went on the car, didn't it? And that was kind of game over. We had to go back. I think it was 2 weeks later by the time the guys had got round to it.
But you're around the cars so much that it's not just about sort of running them. We've experienced pain, pleasure, all the whole gamut, breakdowns. We have experienced the whole range of everything. So well, like I say, it's when there's people there, it's always funny. But,
I remember one time as well, we had a 964 RS and a 993 RS. Mm-hmm. And again, really early into the photo shoot, the relay on the 993 went. So we realised, well, we've got one relay between 2 cars. So the twin test kind of went out the window, and we just had to do like 2 separate individual shoots of the cars, one at a time, and swap the relay from car to car. And like you said, it's things you do to get a shoot over the line, isn't it?
Stuff just happens, but it's
Ali, what's the difference then for those that aren't too sure, myself included, in fairness? Like, what's the difference between shooting a car and a person? Because I mean, it is different, isn't it? There is a specialism to kind of automotive photography, if you like. Also, I'd like to know as well, what's the difference between like shooting for T911 magazine and maybe a manufacturer like JLR?
It's always going to come down to the brief on that end, but in terms of what's different. Any picture is all about lighting, really. But if you realise that a car sort of is really reflective, it's all about controlling the reflections and thinking about what the car is. You've got to sort of be appreciative of the shape of it and what the designer is sort of intending. You'd never really park a 911 on grass if you've got anything about you. You've got to think, what's the car about, and is it really clean lined? Has it got a big wing? Do you need to see the wider hips of it if it's a wide body? What sort of aero's it got in it? Whereas with a person, it's a slightly different thing. You've got to talk to them, and are they used to having the picture taken? I mean, a good car shot is not an easy thing just to do, as you'll find if you just flick through Flickr. But also, I mean, a really good headshot. If you want to see if someone's a good photographer, get them to do a headshot, because if you can shoot both of those well, you're probably halfway to being, fairly good at anything. I'm the world's worst jewellery photographer. I can tell you that, but and I have done some of it. But But so if you can shoot a car, you can do anything, but you've got to appreciate, what it is, the shape of it, what it's made of, and the surfaces, really.
From my point of view as editor, if I have a pitch from somebody saying, I quite like cars, I've got a camera, can I do some work for you? I always ask for a car tracking shot. I really feel like that separates the wheat from the chaff. How
Yeah, well, I
how
was,
did you
yeah.
nail
Well, yeah, I don't know really. Practice. I mean, there's another thing with the drums is I had this really good teacher from New York that taught loads of famous people. Jim Chapin is Harry Chapin's dad. But he had this thing that to get good at anything, you've got to really put time in it. And there's this big quote that says you've got to put 10,000 hours in to be really proficient at anything. So you'll never get better at anything without doing it. And yeah, if you're talking about tracking shots, well, actually, the shot I was just describing, you've got to think about surfaces. It wasn't just like a parked car. It's a car moving as well. And yeah, that's when you've got to sort of think on your feet. And when you think about more than one as well, there's so much going on there. What's the background doing? What's the cars doing? What's the road surface like? What car are you in? Is it on run flats? Are they high, low profile? Who's driving that car? Who's driving the other cars? Have they done it before? How close will they get? How long have we got to shoot? It's not just about making the picture come out. That's the least part of photography in a way. Yeah, you just got to practice basically, whatever it is. But particularly with tracking, you've got to practice. Kit is a lot better now, and digital has got a lot of people into it that perhaps wouldn't have done it when they were on film. Photoshop is a big sort of recovery tool for some people. Not complaining about them, because if that's if retouching is their angle, then that's fine. Some people will give in like 6 shots after a day's work, and they've all been sort of hyper retouched and might even add lens flare or something like that, which I'm gripping my heart and gasping at that. But everyone is different. There's no right and wrong, but I know if I gave Lee 6 shots, he'd sort of pick the phone up to me and say, well, that's great. Where's the rest of them?
He wants his money's worth, does he?
Well, that's the thing about briefs. They're talking about what do people expect is, what do you need the pictures for? What are they trying to say? What do you want to show? If it's a magazine feature, it's always about options. Everything is about options, but you never know quite what the designer's going to have a chance to do.
Yeah.
So, you've always got to give them options. So, dead space where there's nothing happening, you've got to visualize text. With covers, you've got to make that work. That's a different thing as well. With the manufacturer's end of it, you've got to think what they want it for. I haven't done too much of the sort of press releasey stuff, but often they'll have to be approved by like the car's design. And obviously, the more people you have to please, the more it can get called, because it's always harder to please a committee than it is sort of 1 or 2 people. Time, you don't often get much time to do it, or if it's with a manufacturer, they've often got a video crew on it, and they eat time, and often you're slotted in at the last bit where you might have to fight for a bit of time. You get good video crews and bad video crews. Most of them are good. A lot of them are good, I've got to say. You don't get often grumpy ones. You don't often get grumpy photographers, but perhaps that's just me. You've got to be able to do your bit. You've got to fit in with other people, and you're there just to communicate someone else's message. That's the bottom line. It's not about just taking a nice picture. Every situation is different. You've got to work with what you've got. You can't say, well, I need the car to be out in the scenery if you've been given the back of a factory and a run of 200 yards to nail a tracking shot with 5 cars, which I've had to do whilst the video crew's doing it. The sort of professional side of it. Like a musician, you might be doing a country and western record one minute, the next day you're doing Megadeth or something like that. But you've got to be able to adapt to whatever that person wants, because that's what you're getting paid for. That's your role.
Does the do you think the sort of where the kit's moved on does that help people? Do you think some people look better at what they do just by having better kit, or is it still important to be in the right hands?
You don't always need the top end camera. We tend to just end up with the best camera we do, but that's only because it's our sort of job. A lot of people just get het up on the kit and just want to sort of collect it, which we just end up with good kit really. It helps. It's not, you don't need it. You can do a lot of good stuff with an iPhone, but you're just a basic DSLR, a 35mm lens, a 50 and a 135. You can probably shoot everything in a polarizing filter and a tripod. That's all you need.
It's a fairly short list to have a go, isn't it? That's probably quite a good place to start.
You don't need tons of kit. If you want to do a nice static of your car, even just a good compact camera and a tripod, we're not doing tricks when we're out. There's no sort of skills. It's just knowing the right angle of the car, the right place to take it. Kit has got better though. I will say that. When it was Phil,
it's also being prepared as well, Ali, isn't it? Like again, I remember a shoot that came back. Certainly not from you. It was someone that again wrote in and said, can I have the gig? Sent them off, went to do the photo shoot, came back, and in all of the tracking shots, the bonnet was open on the RSR replica, actually. And you just think, all the kit in the world sort of thing. And we're kind of driving around, or the owner was driving around with this front bonnet kind of flapping about. And it's just, I think with experience and kind of preparation, you get around that. And it kind of comes back to what you were saying earlier, whereby you use a photographer you trust, doesn't it? And more people have got into it, but it's about building a relationship with someone that you can trust.
Well, it's those times when you've both been together and it's been less than ideal and you've really turned it around and pulled it back. It's easy to do it when you've got all day and 2 cars and, what should we do today? But, you and I have done stuff at the OPC Centre at Silverstone at the little track where we've had an hour.
Yeah.
And it's fine to have all day doing it, but actually, if you're paying for the track and you've only got the hour, or you've got that circuit for an hour, well, actually, it matters then, But that it's not the 1 hour. You don't do the gig in sort of the 1 hour that you've been paid to do it in. You do it in the 20 years leading up to that point, where you learn how to do it. That's what you're paying for. It's easy to say, well, you did that in an hour. I say, no, I did that in 20 years. It's all about confidence and if you arrange it all, you need a result, and you only get that one go.
It's quite a lot of pressure, isn't it? I mean, that's it's quite a lot of pressure on your shoes to deliver it, like you said, especially if you're only getting a small window as well. That must take a bit of time to build that confidence up.
I mean, I'm not a brain surgeon, which is probably a good thing, but it's only a photo shoot. But you've got to communicate what someone wants, though. So even you could have the same car 2 or 3 times, and I probably have shot that over the years, but you have a different slant on it, or you've gone around the same factory 3 times and you've got to do a different shot or something, but you've always got a different take. It's for a different story to convey a different message,
I was wondering what sort of an average week is. I go to work 5 days a week, do my desk, and I know what my average week is. What's yours?
It can literally depend. I mean, there's no average week at the minute, but there isn't for anyone.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Although I was out yesterday and I was out the week before, so it depends. It literally depends. But like a magazine's every 4 weeks typically. So in that 4-week cycle, you'll have a cover shoot, probably for each of them. I'll tend to have. I do words and pictures, so I might, if I find a nice car, I'll arrange that. It all takes time, even having a shoot sort of lined up. Oh, what do you want for that? Okay, do you need a location? I mean, I've got a lot of my work over the years as well, because I've got a good knowledge of locations around the UK. And in fact, the Total 911 Great Roads thing sort of jokingly came out the back of me. Only because we tended to know loads of good roads, as Lee would say, when we've been out for looking for a group test. Where should we go? I can typically suggest something or somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And if that's not right, I'll have somewhere else. It's arranging things. It's perhaps looking for a car or something, or I'll do a workshop thing for the Land Rover magazine, words and pictures, and that takes a data shoot and a data write up, or half a data write up.
I was wondering if it's like, is it a case of it's all condensed down, so it's like 2 or 3 days of craziness, or is it?
Yeah, it's totally random. It can be every. It can be every day out. And it's not like you're driving to the same office every day. Yesterday was 2.5 hours away. When I was out with Lee, that was an hour and a half the other week. But I've driven everywhere. I've driven to sort of 200 or 300 miles for a job, and you mention to some people and say, "Oh, you're stopping over." Well, we'll think nothing of driving like 2.5, 3 hours for a job and coming back again. But it can be long days. It's not all about posing with a fancy car somewhere.
So it's hard work.
It's testing. You can't go out and coast in my job. It's actually got to happen through the lens, and you've got to record it.
Yeah.
if you get the shot back and there's a leaf in front of the car, well, you can't paint the rest of that in, or if there's a problem. if you don't get the shot, you're down to getting your pencil crayons out the next day. I sort of joked, if you haven't got it today, then it's pencil crayons tomorrow, folks. If you want something, tell me now before we go. I always say, look, is there any gaps? Is there anything else we need to do? And often other people are really keen to get home, and you have to say, well, look, if we've got more to do, it's just another half an hour or something like that. Yeah.
So we heard earlier sort of how you began in the industry. I'm thinking that it's, as we've said earlier, there's lots more people who seem to be at the helm of a camera. So it seems harder to get started. What sort of top tips do you think you could give a budding photographer today on how to get started? I
mean, everyone has got a camera, and it doesn't have to be good. I would probably say don't use your phone. I would use some sort of camera, only because the phone is doing a lot of stuff. And there's loads of apps that make stuff look really good and effects and all of that, which is fine. But often they don't print that well. Certainly in magazines, you won't find too many sort of gimmicks and gargle filters through my stuff, only because it just doesn't print that well. It looks great on screen, but I don't always find that it translates that well to print. Just any sort of nice compact camera or a DSLR, if you turn it on, often they're at the widest angle lens setting. Don't go on that. Zoom in a bit. So slight telephoto. Have a look at your car. Know your car. Know the good angle of it. It's typically going to be a bit of a 3/4, so a glance down the side, not too far that it's too long. In a nice location, not in bright sunlight, because it's reflective. If you find somewhere to go, in fact. Lee will tell me the name of the road. Where did we go when we did the super test?
In Wales?
Yeah, B4407.
With the three
you two are going to start quoting. You're just going to start quoting road numbers again, aren't you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I think, Ali, if that was the one with the three sapphire blue, by the lake.
That car park.
Yeah, it's off the B4391. Don't know the name of that exact road.
Okay. Everyone uses it. We use it. Evo use it. Everyone uses it. There's a little lay-by down there. Take your car down there. Whenever sunset is, look on the BBC or Met Office. See when sunset is. Get there an hour and a half before. Find the angle of your car with a nice background. Park it there. Just sit and watch the sunset. And when the shadows just passed over the car and it's sort of got a nice... the light sort of going round everywhere. Take the picture then when the sun's gone down after about 10 or 15 minutes, something like that. And the car, you'll watch the light change on the car, and it'll just look really nice. If you go to that lay-by, you can't help but take a really nice picture of your car at sunset there. Really, that would be my top tip. But don't use a wide-angle lens. You want to be slight telephoto, about 100 mil, 135, say, but even a 50. Polarizing filter is good to kill the reflection on the bonnet, a bit more color depth. But that in a nutshell is how to take a nice shot of a car. Is light it nicely, put it somewhere nice.
I always find my car difficult to take a picture of. It's red, and I always find that difficult. It's to get the reflections and so forth on it.
Yeah, well, this is like the which is the most awkward car to respray, what colour, and it's always the one that you take to the paint shop, isn't it? It's, black cars can be tricky, they're good for reflections, but red's typically okay. You might find the saturation goes a bit bonkers. But if you light it nicely, that should be okay. White is probably the hardest because it's hard to get a really good sort of reflection line in. White or possibly silver. But you should be okay with red. Stick it in that car park, Joe, and do as I say, and it should be fine.
What was I going to say, Ali? We have got a couple more questions. I know Joe and Andy have got some questions in regards to your project cars to come, both past and present. But before that, we're just kind of the last question in regards to your profession, where video is more prevalent in the industry these days. Is it something that you and your colleagues in the industry look to get into? So does a photographer become a videographer, or is it a case of kind of sticking to your guns, sticking to what you know?
They'll probably touch on it. It isn't a case of just pressing the button on the camera. You have to set up differently. And a DSLR, it might shoot video, but video, is all about sound. if you get rubbish sound on a video, the whole video is rubbish. So the DSLR would do a lovely 4K or 8K or whatever it is. If you're going to watch your YouTube video in 4K, folks, this is the bottom line, is often, can you do a quick bit of video? It's for social media. And that word, it's just for social media. Like the amount of agony to get something with very little payback is often, it's sort of a curious mix. But yeah, you'll find photographers will do video, but you might not find that they are videographers, because that's a separate job, really. And often the things you're doing, they might only happen once. You need two people doing it at the same time. Now, having said that, I'm out on Thursday doing a Michelin job, and I'm doing a bit of stills and video, but that is a quick bit. It's nothing bonkers.
Do you prefer doing video, or do you prefer doing photography? I assume the latter.
Nah, yeah, I'm a photographer, really. I missed the days of film. It felt like craft then. It was real sort of science. I started on 5.4 plate cameras, and I've still got my 5.4 camera, which is a 10.8 with a 5.4 back, actually, but it felt like science doing it then. You really felt like you were creating something. There's a bit of the romance gone with digital. It's easier and you can get nice stuff with it, don't get me wrong. But my background, that's why I don't really use a lot of Photoshop, because my background was you got it right on film, and that was the time to do it.
It's a bit more of a craft to it, isn't it? Rather than just grab the kit and press the button.
Yeah, I guess it's just an approach. But you could speak to someone else tomorrow for another one, and they say, "Oh no, I'll shoot like 10 different shots in Photoshop, and I'll layer it together, and I'll put this filter and that filter, and I'll put loads of lens flare on it." And that might be them. That's fine, but you can give 10 people a biro, and they'll all do something different with it.
Yeah.
It's the same with the camera. There's no right in photography, but there is a wrong. Yeah.
Shying away from the photography for a second, obviously you're actually a former 911 owner yourself. Is that right?
I am, yeah. I am. I had a 964 Carrera 4, which it's a 1990 car, which originally was bought new by the owner of Westfield Cars. I don't quite know why he bought a Porsche 911, but anyway.
There's a clue in there somewhere, isn't there?
That might be. I had it for probably a couple of years. Only sold it because I like sort of tinkering and spannering with them, and there isn't that much that you can do with it. 911 is all about those service stamps, really, and quite rightly values and getting things done correctly. I did change the discs and pads myself. Fitted Ferrodo DS 2500s, which are fantastic. It made it brake like a 997. Actually, it was really good. But it also got to the point where we've been around them a lot, and most journalists, Lee probably gets quite okay at taking pictures, and most of us tend to get fairly okay at sort of peddling cars about. I would probably drive a little bit quicker than many would, but I mean, I'd probably drive slower in town, but when it was open, you might push on a little bit more. But I can distinctly remember it was the times of, I think there's a royal wedding, or there was 3 or 4 holidays in the year anyway, and I had to wait to those points where I was really getting empty roads, so that I didn't feel like I was just a hooligan overtaking people. And it was fine, but I've been around them a lot, and I sort of wanted to tinker with them more. So I really enjoyed it. It was a great car. I do sort of wish I still had it, but I punted it on, sold it.
How long ago?
I can't remember now. 2013 or something. I'd have to check. 2014.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Did you replace it with something else that you can tinker with, or you?
I did. I bought a Range Rover Classic, 1995, one of the last original ones. We got a second child, I think, by that point. There's always more room in it, so I restored that, and we've been to the Lake District in the 911. In fact, the Total 911 Great Drives, I think the app and the adverts, and there's a picture of my 964 on it. In that car is my other half, my son, and the dog. In the Lake District. We did lots with it, and it was fun.
So it was a forced sale, the 964 then?
No, it wasn't actually. In fact, I bought it 2 weeks after we had our first child. Got a very good
well there. Yeah.
No, it was fine. It was lots of fun. I really enjoyed it. I'd always wanted one, and I'd been around other ones and everything. It was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. I just wanted to do a bit more spannering. So, I got the Range Rover. I'd restored that and went to the Isle of Skye for a holiday, and it was just fantastic. And 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I bought a 1957 Series 1 Land Rover and restored that with the help of a friend. So, I got those two. And there's obviously, it's a bit, one's like a Shire horse and the other one's like the Forth Bridge. There's always something to do,
Keep you busy. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're very much like a 911, very mechanical. I mean, the old car, you're driving it very much like a 911. You can feel everything. You can feel the road. It's got Fred Flintstone brakes. No synchro mesh. There's a lot of similarities the way you drive the two of them. And we'll often go and shoot a Land Rover, and the guy will have a 911 in the back, or someone will start showing us. I'll mention exactly as you said. Oh, what have you got yourself? And I'll tell them. And they said, oh, I've got one of those, or whatever. There's a lot of crossover. It's interesting. It's interesting.
I just, I think. Yeah, you mentioned the Land Rover and the Rangy Alley. Is there going to be a 911 in your life again going forwards? Maybe kids are a bit older, or are you done with Porsche?
No, I'm not done with it. It's finding the right one. When I bought the 964, I did look at everything, and I sort of had a wide open brief from anything. From an SC, a 3.2, probably up to a pretty tatty 997. I still think even now it's probably a bit more of a wider held belief now. But the 964, I think, is the best of everything. Narrow bodied, you've got ABS, better injection and everything. That was a 4-wheel drive one, mine was. I still think the 964 is a very hard car to beat. However, in terms of buying another one now, a 997 is very good. I took a 997 C4S with a power kit to the Isle of Skye in 2006. Now that was a fantastic car, and that they made so many 997s that the prices of those in probably 5 years or 4 years, that's going to be your next project car. I think it'd be a good buy. Because I think air cooled they're going to hold the value very well.
Ali, I've got to ask you, because you've done some incredible stuff. You must share the story that you told me about a Mr. Jürgen Barth and a bout of skinny dipping in Sweden. I think we all need to hear that.
I've got so many things happen. It's the people. As soon as you put people together, good, bad, funny things happen. I've seen it all. But we went to Finland to shoot a collector there. He's got a lovely collection of cars, primarily to shoot his 964 Carrera 4 lightweight. And he'd arranged for Jürgen Barth, the Porsche chap behind the project, to come back and drive the car again on track. He went over there, flew there, stayed in his house at the edge of the Gulf of Bothnia. He drove back to get Jürgen that night. We overnighted. Next day, went to the track. Which car would you like to take, Alistair? Would you like to take the RS? Yeah. I'll take the RS. Why not? We drove to the track in it, and it was a lovely day. It was a really good car. Obviously fascinating to I've had the night before with Jürgen, and loads of stories and drinking. Day on the track. There's a classic case. They had stills and video. We were shooting stills for Total 911. They were also doing their own video, so we've got to share it with them. I could see the weather was turning, so I got Argo in first. The last lap we had with Jürgen, we did some tracking shots, car to car with the two of them, with the videographer's car. There's a tip, folks. Got that done. Okay, we'll do a few with a 300mm lens of Jürgen, giving it the beans. The last lap, it absolutely hammered with rain. And literally on the last go round, Jürgen couldn't help himself but do a sort of gratuitous tail slide as he came round, a massive big drift. It was a brilliant day. We've been told about it. It was all looking forward to it. On the last day, there's going to be the sauna party. Okay, fine. Okay, slightly nervous looks to each other. Had the meal last night. It's a big clap of the hands. Okay, now we go to the sauna. Okay. The journalist sort of nervously laughs with me and sort of slightly saucer-eyed, looking left and right. Okay, let's go. As we go down there, their neighbours had already been there, and the first sight I had as we walked to the sauna was 4 of his neighbours, in the all together, walking out, doing the walk straight out down the jetty, jumping in this sea. And I thought, my God, how mad are they? It wasn't hot. It'd been hot in the daytime, but it was cold at night. Anyway, go and sit in the sauna. Yeah, bloody hell, it's warm in here. First time I'd done it, I thought, God, this is bonkers. What am I doing here? Next minute, in walks Jürgen. Oh, I saw a lot of Jürgen that night, let me tell you that. And anyway, so it comes. Okay, now we go in the lake. Oh, okay, here we go out into the lake. I tell you what, it was that much fun. I did that 5 times, in, out, in, out, in, out. It was so much fun. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant evening. We cooked sausages on the sauna and then ate it outside, shivering, or all of us pretending we weren't cold. Yeah, no, it was brilliant. Loads of people might get to meet him at a racetrack, and yeah, no, I did considerably more than that.
Yeah. With the legendary Jürgen Barth, that is quite the story.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere Jürgen's been interviewed on a podcast of his own, and he's describing the same story, but said, "You know what? I once met this photographer, and I saw a lot of him that night."
Right, it's so good. The thing I seem to find with you photographers is you're a quirky bunch. I've never met 2 photographers that are remotely the same, like all absolute characters. There's one photographer I remember who's particularly fond of his own voice, and we were away at a rally for the Monte Carlo rally, and yeah, it was like an evening meal. We're sitting around with like a team of it was a pro rallying team, and he was essentially sitting there telling the driver about car control and giving him tips on car control, for example. It's absolutely fascinating. But I think you whatever you do, you have to have a passion, first of all, for the subject you're photographing, but also people as well, as you alluded to.
Yeah. A lot of it, the photography is the smallest end of it. They're taking a picture and making it come out, which is what most people say might struggle with. That's the least of your worries, your worries are getting the car in somewhere, getting it safe, getting the right angle, getting it in the time, getting the shots that you need. You've often got a shot list. That's your worry. Not making a picture come out. That's the bottom thing. Stick it on P for professional. Loads of people would do, and then press. Always manual, folks. Always manual. Yeah. But yeah, the photography is the least of your worries. It's the people end of it, and yeah, you're sitting out there to tell other people how to drive cars and stuff. They're not telling you how to take pictures, but it's the same in all walks of life. There's nothing different in this. It's all people with people. But you do get to do some great things. We did another job going to the Porsche Museum, and we interviewed Ralph Spranger from Zonderwunsch, and he's flicking through his archives, and his hat was on a little piece of yellow metal. Oh, what's that? We casually inquired. I said, "Oh, that's a paint to sample for Speed Yellow." He said we did a car, and they said we need an interesting yellow, so I got the paint guys to mix an interesting yellow up, and the people higher up said, "Oh, that's a really nice colour. What's that called?" And Ralph said, I thought, speed yellow. And, we all know that now as every sort of car, but you only come across these things because you're just there with the people. And, we were doing that job, and randomly you get grabbed. Say, okay, we'll go for lunch now. 10 minutes later, we're sitting in the sort of staff canteen, and we're next to everyone with their sort of Porsche overalls on and everything. And that was you get to do loads of really interesting things like that. I wished I'd taken pictures in there because I've never read about it or heard about it, but we were told that it had been voted the best canteen in Germany or something like that. You see all these different things. Actually, the magazine feature or the job that you go to do for these is neither here nor there. All this sort of fun stuff goes on, or things go wrong and stuff, and none of that matters. It's all got to just get the result. It's all about the result, really.
Can you tell us any stories that might embarrass Lee at all?
There was one last week, wasn't there?
The only thing you needed about Lee is that lately he really hates my lighting stands. Last year there was a slight issue where we'll say he touched one with a 992. He managed to put a little crease in it, which I straightened out, and anyway, last week, he did the whole thing, and one of my stands is the perfect formation of a sort of the alloy from I can't remember, what was it? Is it a GTS? I think it's a perfect 90-degree curve on one of my light stand legs, and I will say,
I thought it was a really apt modification, so that next time you need to stand a light on a hillside where you one shorter leg, well, there's your thing. You can have that one for free, Ali, if you like. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Like I said, folks, it's when you put people together, it is what you got to deal with. The picture's the easy bit. It's people breaking your stuff, or you got to just turn around and say, well, that's fine. I have to say, when he did that, I don't know how he didn't manage to pull the light over the side of the chap's car we were with. But, sometimes you need a bit of luck. But anyway.
In total fairness, the car only had 3 rear view mirrors, parking sensors and a rear-facing camera. That's all I had to work with to reverse across a 50 square foot concrete expanse into a tiny little light. So
they do say you can't fix stupid, don't they?
yeah. I give you that. Okay, I also remember, Ali, a time at Landau Circuit, and you got a fantastic sequence of shots of me doing a pirouette in a 991 turbo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let go of that one a little bit early, I think. Things just happen. You forget more than you've done, to be quite honest. But I've certainly forgot most of my 911's knowledge, but it's probably in there somewhere. But yeah. I vaguely remember in North Wales, and this one wasn't with me, but it kind of led to you exclaiming rather loudly, "Glitter sphincter."
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember. You've certainly had some incidents. There was a debate a long time ago. Someone had quite a severe off with someone, not on our job, but sort of historically in this sort of line of work. And there was a big debate after that about if you were in the car with someone who was, let's say, handy at the wheel, or the pro driver, if you thought they were going to have an off, do you sit there, hold onto the seat, swallow and man up, or do you sort of squeal like a baby? And we all came to the conclusion that actually, if you thought someone was going to have an off, you should sort of say it. But I've always gone by that sort of train of thought because I don't like damaging things. But we're in all sorts of metal in this sort of line of work, and the chances of having serious offs like that, it's definitely possible. So you've got to be sensible. You're out to take pictures, not to pose in a press car for a week and sort of wear the tyres off it and give it back. You've got to remember that.
Yeah. Well, Ali, it's a fantastic insight that you've shared with us and everybody on Road to Redline with regards to the quirky world of automotive photography and what it takes to reach the very top like you have. We really appreciate your time. Before you go, we've got 10 questions that we ask everybody that comes on, if you wouldn't mind having those fired at you.
Yeah, I'll go on then.
I'm good to go. You ready, Ali?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
First question, air or water?
Air.
Favourite Porsche model?
Total 911 did a feature on this, best 911. Everyone else picked things with massive wings and telescopes and lasers and missiles. I quite simply said the best Porsche is the one with your name on the V5. So I've got to say, my old 964 C4. Yeah,
good choice. Your favourite Porsche colour?
I do like speed yellow. I do like linen grey. Black is a good one. Guards red. Depends what car.
You're spreading your bets there, aren't you?
Yeah, I'd probably go classic though. I'd probably say, Guards red is red or speed yellow. But yeah.
Okay. Who is your ultimate Porsche icon?
Well, I can't say Lee.
He had that the other week. His head was so big.
Yeah. I don't know. We've met so many of them or done things. I've missed out on drives with Walter Rall, but I did get a lovely picture of him in the pits in Estoril. I don't know.
It's got to be Jurgen, isn't it?
Not anymore. I can't look him in the eye. I don't know. Probably, Walter Rall. Let's say Walter Rall.
Excellent. Your favourite track?
Favourite track? I hate tracks. I absolutely hate tracks. I hate tracks.
Well, because they're cold and wet.
They're awful places. If you want to eat, you have to go to the chew and spew in the corner. No. forget the track. Just head to the Isle of Skye. There's a stretcher. There's a stretcher road from the middle to the top of the Isle of Skye. There's 100 miles long, the driving road. Go there instead of a track. But if I was going to say a track, where would I say?
A closed one.
Yeah, I don't know. They all sound a bit sort of Disneylandy for me. I think it's a bit sort of manufactured excitement. You'd have to go one of the proper ones, wouldn't you? For a play, though, don't know. Yeah, don't know.
All that, don't know.
Should we go on to the next question? Tafoosh or not Tafoosh?
Only on an air-cooled one.
Okay.
Although Leeds does look.
Oh yeah,
Bloody hell.
yeah, it
Although-
just you down.
I have to say, Leeds does look very good on those. It's very sort of 996 Sport Classic, I said to him, and I thought he's nailed that really well.
Yeah.
You can't backtrack now. We've got to take your first answer, surely.
Yeah.
Stock or hot rod?
Stuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Narrow or wide body?
Oh, I'm going to say narrow.
Okay. I think we know the answer to this one already. Cars and coffee or track day? Maybe we don't know.
I'm going to say neither. I'm going to say out on my own with a couple of OS maps and a full tank of fuel.
Nice.
Unless they are really good friends. Yeah, then you can go for a nice drive on a driving road. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last one, do you do back seats in a 911?
I've sat in many of them to take pictures. I'm going to say yes, but not for the reason you think. It's only because it fits your camera bag really nicely.
Oh dear, practicality.
Yeah.
That is questions completed. Very good work, I believe.
Yeah, good answers in there, Ali. Before you go, I've just got one more question. Out of all the 911 kind of models you've shot, what do you think as an art form is the most photogenic Porsche?
Oh, that's a good one.
Very good
Well,
question.
what's jumped to my mind at the minute is 993 GT2. Because that's quite sort of sculptural. You've got the 993 shape, which I'm not a massive fan of, but you've got those bolt-on arches, a massive big wing. I shot one at Thomas Smith's on an airfield at sunset once, and there were so many sort of details and curves. I'll probably go something like that. It needs quite a few sort of gimmicks and add-ons, I think.
The
failing
arches
that.
on those are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, the sort of utilitarianness of them. It sort of fits what it's about, you know. It's quite a sort of it's an angry thing, you know. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, the shoot you're referring to is Riviera Blue 993 GT2, wasn't it? I remember the shot as well.
Yeah, which we took in a farm to shoot some side-on tracking panning shots. Now, I don't know what the German for, Daddy, there's a strange man standing in my field with a 300mm 2.8 in a really loud Porsche, but I can guarantee you, I heard this sort of 12-year-old girl shout it into the farmhouse. Anyway.
The perfect runaway car. Ali Cusick, award-winning photographer extraordinaire. It's a pleasure to listen to your story on Road to Redline today. Thank you very much, good sir.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ali.
No
Enjoyed
worries.
that.
Man, Ali's a funny man.
Yeah, how about that? The man behind the lens has revealed a few secrets about what is a very quirky industry. And what we did learn is you need to be prepared for when it goes wrong, not just practice for how it should go right, isn't it?
Or getting an eyeful of Jurgen Barth.
Honestly, his point on just absolutely trying to have to do anything you can to nail the shot really is kind of indicative of the magazine industry, but also I think to an extent video as well. He's been quite good there, I think, on just shining a light on that side of things.
Absolutely, yeah. It was good. It was good to hear all the sort of technical bits as well.
Yeah,
quite interesting amount of lighting. He must be just carrying around lighting gear.
It's funny, because to be honest, if we're doing a shoot for T911 with a press car, I'll just drive to his, because his is en route to North Wales, Cumbria, Scotland, all the good roads. So we'll pick him up. And what I will say is, we have managed to crowbar in a fair amount of kit into a 911.
Yeah.
To its credit, I mean, there's an element of it sloshing around the back as you're driving up there, but it's a lot of kit to think about and a lot for Ali to take in. It's not just, is the camera charged? Do the settings on? Do the lights work? Are they weighted down in the wind? Have you got idiotic journalists running the tripod over? So there was a time, actually, you didn't mention, but we were in Paris shooting a 991 turbo. We really wanted to get a car-to-car tracking shot of the turbo going down the Champs-Élysées with the Arc de Triomphe in the background, and we were going to the cover of the issue was Turbo Triumph, obviously with a play on the monument behind. But obviously, for car-to-car tracking, you need 3 people and 2 cars, and we had 2 people and 1 car. But obviously, in the middle of an absolute tourism hotspot, we decided to.
How did you do that?
Well, we stuck the thumb out on the Champs-Élysées and commandeered a taxi driver. And this French guy, he spoke really kind of little English, but we just said, this road, up, down, red car behind. He had absolutely no clue what was going on. But the photographer jumped in this taxi, immediately wound the window down and just started hanging out of it with his camera. Yeah, I was in the turbo trying to follow this taxi driver really close, which again, if anyone's driven through Paris, it's an absolute nightmare because there's just so much traffic.
Terrible,
You just shouldn't do it. Yeah, so trying to kind of stick to the license plate of this taxi. Any case, we did one run of the Champs-Élysées. Kudos, he got the shot, and this taxi driver was just bemused at the end of the road. Ali saying, pull over, and he's gotten out, giving him some money and asking for a receipt because we were trying to claim this taxi fare back on expenses, just from one end of the Champs-Élysées to the other. But it made the cover, so it's what you need to do, But it was fantastic. His other stories there to highlight that.
It sounds like he's got so many stories. Maybe we could get him on again and just keep pounding him for the next story and the next story.
It'd make a good book, but behind the scenes on things, especially from a photographer's point of view, because he's so right. It's it's all good fun, etc. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the shots, it's down to the photographer. So there's a lot on his shoulders, and particularly kind of in magazine stuff, you don't have the budget of a Top Gear. You can't just kind of close a road, whoop up a helicopter to get that top down shot.
Got to be a bit more creative, I think. That's what
definitely. There is a bit more kind of ducking and diving. So he really is a master of his craft.
Magic. There's no sort of rest, is there, for that? You got to get on with it. You can't sit at your desk and have an off day.
This is it. You're only as good as your last shoot, aren't you? If you do a bad shoot, the phone might not ring again. So
absolutely.
Yeah, top guy.
Yeah. Elsewhere, we need to pay homage to Mr. Hans Metzger, who unfortunately passed away in the last week.
Yeah, sad news that was.
Yeah, he's sort of obviously, he's had a direct influence on all of us, really, the cars we drive, and obviously with yourself there, Air-Cooled Flat 6. Anyone that drives a GT or turbo car, obviously in the water-cooled generation, their car is essentially... has his engine, isn't it? It's colloquially called the Metzger engine, that dry sumped flat 6 that we all know and love. His mark on Porsche and the 911 in particular is huge, isn't it? And I know, Joe, you've done a bit of digging on the man in the last week.
Oh yeah, it's only when you start sort of looking at somebody slightly closer, you find out the sort of things that they did and have done and quite how much impact they had. I've sent a few bits on to you guys, but he's obviously 40 years, 4 decades at Porsche, and was there from day dot with the 911 engine, which I think is pretty crazy. But all sorts. Just race pedigree engineer to the extreme.
I think the cool thing about Hans Metzger is, quite famously, he had a lot of offers to work for other companies. And
I heard 28 other companies.
Yeah, how phenomenal is that? But he was insistent on an interview with Porsche to kind of get in the door there. And I
don't know if you've seen the same. I read somewhere that a big part of his decision was it was just sort of local and fairly easy for him, and that was kind of part of the appeal.
Really?
Right. I did not know that. But again, it's to everybody's advantage, that, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Well, this is it. Obviously he had a real hand in the early 911 engine. Then he's gone on to play a key role as was head of the race department, wasn't it? Which spawned the 917. unprecedented success with that car that led to the first Le Mans victory for Porsche in 1970. And then by the early 80s, he's designing a 1.5 litre V6 for McLaren, wasn't it? That was a Formula One world title winning engine. So just in terms of like engineering dexterity, there's surely, I mean, is there anyone better? Nobody springs to my mind.
Well, that's a serious pedigree, isn't it? And the fact you can go and jump in a 997 GT3s, they'd all be the same engine, map, wouldn't it? And you've got that legacy there, from that, haven't you?
Yeah, massively. And I think one of the best things about it all is, of all the cars he's designed, and the car in his garage was a 911 Carrera 3. Really, really cool from the mid 70s. So
wow,
yeah. We shall therefore dedicate this podcast episode to Mr. Metzger. And I think with that, shall we close the episode?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening.
Nice one, guys. See you next week.